Hi friends, Janet the Moline Library here. Today we're going to be making these stained glass bookmarks that are part of your May craft kit. In addition to the materials that come into the kit, you will need a pair of scissors, and you may find it easier if you have some tape. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is to peel this contact paper away from its paper backing. So if you kind of start at a corner, and if you mess up the corner a little bit, that's okay, because that's not going to be part of the finished piece. You can just pull that right off. Okay, and you'll see that once the paper backing is not on there, it tends to lay pretty flat. But while we're working, because we don't want it to move, I do recommend that you put a little bit of tape onto the edges. That'll keep it from moving around too much as we're working. And that way your piece will stay nice and even. Next, you're going to want to put out the outline. This can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. You'll see from my examples that I just did kind of a typical kind of scattered one. I'm going to try something a little more complex this time, and I'm going to have a bit of a pattern. But whatever you want to do, you just go ahead and lay your pieces out. The black paper that you have will not stick to the paper, the contact paper, very permanently, which is kind of nice. If you don't like something, you can pick it up and move it around. Once you start working with the tissue paper later, though, that does stick rather permanently. So there's kind of my outline. I'm not really happy with the way that one laid down. It's not quite centered. So like I said, you can just kind of move it around, and whatever design you want to make, you don't have to have an outline. You don't have to have any kind of particular pattern. You can just put them down however you'd like. You don't even have to use the black paper at all. If you just want to put the tissue paper directly on, you can do that too. This is art, so there aren't really any rules. So whatever you have decided on doing, go ahead and get that all laid out. Now, I know I said earlier that there aren't really any rules, and that is true. Your art is your own. But if you are using black paper to make kind of an outline, you will want to make sure that you don't have the pieces kind of sticking all over each other. That will kind of ruin the effect of your final piece. But really, it's up to you, so whatever you decide to do. So next, now that I've got my outline kind of on there and ready to go, I am going to start putting in tissue paper. And as with anything else, whatever you choose to do is completely up to you. When I did my sample pieces that I used for the instructions, I kind of put it wherever it fit. I'm going to try to be a little more careful this time, and I'm going to make it so that I only have one color in each little spot. And again, you can do it however you like, but if you avoid having the colors come outside of that black paper, that's going to be better. You can either, tear it or cut it, however it works best. So, like I said before, once you get that contact paper on the tissue paper, it tends to be pretty sticky, much more than when it was on the with the black paper. And I'm working at kind of an awkward angle, but you'll do the same thing. Just go ahead and fill in all of your spaces and try to keep them within the borders, at least of the outside of your black paper, because we will be cutting that off later. So as you can see, I did kind of pre-cut some of these pieces a little bit because I'm trying to get them very exact, and also, to be honest, trying to work around this camera stand is a little bit awkward. But in the end, what's really important if you are using an outline is just to make sure that those pieces don't overlap outside of the black outline. So there we go. I've got mine about as good as I think it's going to get. Now you can, if you choose, do a back outline. So you can, you know, take the exact same pieces that you had before from the front and put them on the back. If you do that, as you probably saw in the instructions, it gives it the same look from both sides. But I had so many little pieces of black on there, and I'm not even sure where they all are now. So rather than try to recreate that, I'm just going to have a one-sided bookmark, and I'm okay with that. And so I'm going to peel the paper off of another one of the pieces of contact paper, and I'm going to get it as centered as possible. They don't necessarily need to be exactly lined up. What we're really looking for, oops, well, don't do that for one thing. My tape came off. What we're really looking for is to make sure that we have a bit of a gap all around the outside. And then what we'll do is we will cut around. Now, I kind of messed up there when mine came up from the paper, came off the table. So I've got a little bit of a bubble, and that's okay. But you want to cut around and leave right outside of the black paper. You can even use your finger to kind of make sure that it's all smushed down. But right outside of the black paper is where you want to cut. If you cut directly on the black paper or real close to it, you won't get a border, because what's holding this together is where the contact paper is touching itself. So we want to leave a little bit of room for the contact paper to be touching itself to kind of seal up those sides. And once we have that all cut out, we have our bookmark. As you can see, mine's only one-sided. That's okay. It was enough work as it was. So there's my bookmark. And if you chose, you could put a hole in it with a little paper punch and put a tassel on it, or you could just use it as it is. I hope that you will enjoy these bookmarks all summer long as we do our summer reading program. It starts on June 5th and runs through July 31st, and we will have a different craft kit available each week. 3 of the programs are going to also have a live component, and they will all have videos to watch. So I hope that you will join us, and until then, happy reading and happy crafting. Bye-bye.